The Hustle Share podcast is brought to you by Payoneer, a digital payment platform that provides online money transfer. With its fast, flexible, secure, and low-cost solutions, businesses across the world can pay and get paid globally. Visit Payoneer.com now. Also by Unbounce, the leading platform for A/B testing made easy. With Unbounce, you don't need to be a developer to build high-converting landing pages, pop-ups, and sticky bars. Hustle Share listeners get 20% off on their first 3 months after the free trial period. Visit bit.ly/hustlebounce to learn more.
A common thing that we would always look at is that, how long is your runway right now? Because that is something that I think is often ignored.
Welcome to Hustle Share, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Bae-Yong.
Welcome to episode 42 of the Hustle Share podcast. My name is Ronster, and I'm your host. And this episode is powered by Payoneer, a digital payment platform that provides online money transfer, empowering businesses around the world to grow globally. But before we start the show, we'd like to remind you that this podcast is only for adults only. So make sure there are no kids around when you're listening to this. Because today we're going to be talking to someone who's made it out from the valley of death. And his name is Luis Arcangel, the CEO of Montgomery Fitch, which is an international ad agency based out of the Philippines and proudly Pinoy made. And Luis's story is very, very interesting because he started this out while he was still in New York back when he was doing corporate. And then he went back to the Philippines to teach in ua&p and put up the company with some of his students as his partners. And Luis is going to talk about how they started this out and the early successes they made all the way to the big drop wherein they almost closed shop. However, they were able to bounce back, and today he's going to share with us how he was able to do that. And get ready to take down notes because he shared a lot of good tips with us, like how to scale the right way, how to make sure you keep the talent that you hire, and most importantly, how to bounce back from the valley of death. So if you're ready to learn the hustle of a millennial ad agency, let's begin this episode right now. Welcome to the latest episode of the Hustle Share podcast. We are again in season 2 now, and we're very excited because, as I promised, when we started this season, we're going to be more diverse. And now it's starting to happen because I have somebody, again, that literally I never met, but I knew he had game. Because, again, shout out to one of our Hustle Share listeners, Mr. Dexter Banyo, for suggesting Mr. Luis Arcangel here on the show. And Luis, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, sir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. Look at me. If you're watching this on video, I'm wearing a fucking shirt and you're all dressed up. But, bro, I just want to know, because I already know that you're someone who's made an indelible mark over his whole hustle. But for the benefit of me and for our listeners, what's your hustle?
What I do is I actually run a holding company called it's called Montgomery Fitch.
Okay.
And it started out as an advertising media company, which I put up in New York.
Wow.
More than a decade ago.
Wow.
And then I came back to the Philippines in the late 2000s.
Wow.
I got burned out in New York, to be very, very honest with you.
Got it.
And like my family was coming back. I didn't start it right away. I started teaching at several universities. ua&p, LaSalle.
There you go.
And then but people were a little bit familiar with what I do, so I kept on getting offered consultancy level projects that sort of metamorph into enterprise level projects. So I essentially started the agency, I would say, like 9 years ago in Manila.
Wow.
With my former students.
Wow.
Yeah,
holy crap.
as my interns who were masquerading as seasoned advertising veterans.
There you go. I'm kind of doing that right now. If you're behind the cameras, These are all kids working with me at the moment, but they're masquerading as podcast experts.
They will never know. They will never know.
But they know now. But from our point of view, they've earned their stripes, and they know more than a lot of people.
That's good.
So okay, real quick, let's just take a step back a little bit because now you've done. I'm just looking at your LinkedIn. You've done so many already, and very diverse background as well. Yeah. But from your hustle, let's ride a hustle share time machine right now. And how did you first remember yourself doing hustling for something that you like? Because you mentioned you started teaching and whatnot. And when you graduated 2003, that's quite a long time ago. But how did you carve your path into this career?
Ironically, I wasn't really built for business, or so I thought.
Okay.
I thought I'd be the stable guy. I was happy with my me being a faculty guy, being a professor, and maybe get a stable corporate job. I actually held several high level business development jobs for some conglomerates.
Wow, yeah.
Before I actually put up my own.
Citibank, Ogilvy, JP Morgan. These are holy crap. These are Fortune 500.
The long and short of it is, it just came to a point that I felt that at least the last company I worked for, the boss sort of sucked. It was really a turning point for me where I felt that I'm literally being dragged down by this incompetence, and I knew for a fact that I could do a better job.
Got it.
So I resigned shortly before Christmas, which was crazy because it's who resigns before Christmas, man? That means you're gonna forfeit your bonus and everything. Who does that?
True.
My friends told me you're crazy. So I went into Christmas with no money.
Got it.
And I said, I'm going to put up my company. I'm going to put up my company. And that's where it started.
Oh, and that company, what did you call it? And I guess, what was the first iteration of how you put that up?
It really was Montgomery Fitch. I constantly tell people that before, with advertising clients, you'd always ask, well, why is it Montgomery Fitch? Is there a Mr. Montgomery? Is there a Mr. Fitch? And I tell them that, that I was on the Cornell campus during graduate school, and then I was with my friends and founders, and we were at the corner of Montgomery and Fitch Avenue, and then a lightning bulb moment when it came into
so
place.
So it's your homage to those streets, technically.
Yeah, no, but then I proceed to tell them that that's actually the glamorous story I want to tell you. The truth of the matter is I probably thought of it maybe in the toilet at home. Yeah. I just thought of the douchiest sounding name ever, and then it sort of stuck. Then I proceed to tell them that, hey, but it's a great brand, right? Because if I can't brand for myself, how can you expect to pay me hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually brand for you?
And when you launched Montgomery Fitch, my bad.
Yeah.
You were in New York still.
Yes.
Let's paint a picture to us. Like, you studied here. You did undergrad here. You did then migrate to when you did that. I mean, we've had several people already that migrate into the U.S. But from a guy I know that there's a point of view from what I know in Silicon Valley. Yeah. It's not that easy, especially being into tech. On the other side of on the East Coast.
Yeah.
For you to come in there, how do you get opportunities first with your jobs, and how do these ideas pop into you? Coming that it's the city that never sleeps. It's probably the most cutthroat environment in the whole world in terms of business. How did that epiphany happen to you?
Well, actually, for me, I actually grew up there. I was there until middle school.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
then I was promptly shipped back to the Philippines.
Okay.
so that's where I learned Tagalog. I didn't know how to speak Tagalog before. My R's are still like, Luis, parang. Ayan, sina kayo. Taga ua&p tayong lahat. Taga Woodrose. So eventually I had to learn it on the fly.
Yeah, got it.
So after graduation, I took an MBA, and then my family had always been based there. So I said, I'll come back. And because I used to come back and forth. So,
but not for a prolonged period of time.
Not really. But we did have a network there. So.
What's the difference now going from the American style middle school, senior high, junior high, whatever? Yeah. Now you're forced into the Filipino, especially in DLSU. It's a little bit structured, but very, very forward thinking still.
Yeah.
What was your biggest adjustments coming back, and then now when you went back in after college, did you go back to New York?
Pretty much.
Got
I
it.
stayed very, very, very quickly, then went back right away. It was the things are just different, man. I mean, I'm a kid of the '90s, so
Got it. There you go.
Coming back from an extremely, I would say, neoliberal society, and then you come
Yes.
back and then strictly Catholic,
Right.
and then there's just a lot of I would call it like a values incongruency.
Got it.
That and it actually bled over to how I discovered business was being done here.
Got
So that was my biggest takeaway.
Got it. Now, when you did Montgomery Fitch, was it a straight line drive? What are your first recalls of now? All right, I'm out of this shit. I don't want to do
Yeah.
all this corporate stuff. This is not for me. How hard was it to get? Because always, it's easy to put up a company.
Yeah.
When you think of it, right? Like, all right, I have a company now.
Yeah.
But doing step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and whatnot, that's always the hardest. How do you build it up?
I will talk primarily about the Manila Experience because
Okay.
I think that's a lot more fun.
Okay.
So essentially, you're really starting from scratch. You don't know what you're doing. So the first thing you do is try to make it legal. So
Got
you
it.
try to get the permits and everything. And then I realized that a guy, let's say in a suit, walking into barangay hall, right smack in the middle of the day, is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and-
Because the long and short of it, although that was the old regime, they're no longer there.
Right,
You walk in,
right.
they are going to rip you off, my friend.
Absolutely, there you go.
They're going to rip you off. They're like a permit that costs $300. They're going to keep on finding crap on you, and then
Correct.
at the end of the day, they say, "Oh, sir, you have to pay 80,000."
Oh my God.
Something. Yeah, it's true story. I couldn't believe for a 300. But thankfully, I reached out again to my network, and someone knew somebody who
Right.
had to arbitrate on my behalf. And
My
because but imagine the restrictions and barriers to entry for entrepreneurs here is ridiculous. In other countries, they give you a grant.
Right.
They'll give you
Make it
tax
super
exemptions.
easy for you.
Make it super easy for you.
Right.
They'll give you money. Here, it's crazy.
Fuck you up first.
Yeah, and then that's just barangay hall. You go to city hall, especially here in Pasig, or at least used to. It's run like a mafia, because you gotta get permits from like the fire guys, sanitation guys,
Right.
all of these things, and each just run like a private kingdom.
Ours ourselves took a year in Chatbot
There
PH
you go.
before
And then
we got incorporated.
And then once you're done with that, you got to deal with either the DTI or SEC guys.
Yes.
And, but I am very optimistic with the changes that have been happening lately.
Absolutely.
Which is because every time I go out, let's say on a regional trip,
Right.
I always get hammered, man. Oh, I like investing in Philippines, but Philippines
Right.
is so hard.
Right.
So things like that. Man.
Okay, now from the financial point of view, you
Yeah.
said you just quit your job. You didn't get all the bonuses. How did you get this up to speed? Did you have savings or did you get investors and whatnot?
Well, at first it was like my very first partner was a former student of mine.
Oh, wow.
So we were 75-25.
Okay.
We put up 1 mil. I put up
Okay.
750. He put up 250.
All right.
That was our runway.
Okay.
Supposedly optimistically for at least a year. You
Got
know? That was how we started it. But then you realize life comes at you quick.
Yep.
So what happens was, and this is fairly documented outside now.
Right.
We were an instant success. Like
Wow.
we literally started and we had 4 or 5 live contracts off the bat.
Okay, and what were those like? What were you doing for the companies you were doing? You had for?
The specialty was mostly creative work. You would do their marketing campaigns.
Got it.
Above the line
And yeah.
things.
And
like
paint the
that,
picture. This was year what? The 2000.
This was right around 2011.
Oh wow, that's pretty new.
20,
Even
20,
digital wasn't even. It was still taboo. A lot of people,
Oh,
right?
no.
Right?
That was still pretty. It was newfound
True.
territory.
Correct.
back
Even the
then,
infrastructure and whatnot. How now? What I want to ask is for you to sell that proposition. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you need to invest in digital. You need to do campaigns below the line, above the line, whatever. How hard was it to get them on board at first? Because you know your skill set, you know what you bring to the
Yeah.
table, but these companies, they're always like, this is my billboard budget. The billboard gets me this, and it's
Yeah.
tangible, it's palpable, whatever. How do you even get the piece of that pie that you can now allocate to your things and make it work? For the
It
scale?
was. I won't lie, man. It was really hard.
Right.
You got first of all, it's like a catch-22.
Yes, chicken and egg.
Kasi parang they would tell you that, oh, we like your stuff, but you seem like an earnest guy and you have this New York experience, but this is the Philippines, so it's different.
Yes.
And then oh, we'd love to get you, but you don't, like who are your clients,
True.
And then but how do you get clients if no one wants to take that chance?
Right,
It's the classic catch-22 for services-related companies.
Right.
Eventually, we got someone was willing to take a chance on us.
Are you comfortable talking about who that was? Let's just put a name on
no,
brand X.
it was in the healthcare sector.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
Sector.
That's big.
And they were pretty big. They were impressed with the material that my ua&p guys came up with.
Opus Dei number one.
We
Pray to God.
we ended up beating several like four
big name brands,
big name brands, forays agencies.
Okay.
They probably thought, like, who the crap are these guys?
Got it.
And we leveraged that one account into one after, because it was a fairly high profile campaign.
Nice.
We ended up becoming the toast of that season, so that year one was like secure off the bat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then it was year two that was challenging.
Okay, now in year 2, let's talk about that and how you basically steamrolled from the Valley of Death. We call it the Valley of Death, where a lot of people kind of die already and then bounce back up. But let's take a break, and when we come back, let's talk about that experience more after the break. So let's take a quick break from the episode to talk about a big mistake I did early in my own hustle as a startup founder. And that's going all in on my startup without having any other source of income. Now, you might say that's weird because we talk about going all in a lot in this podcast, but allow me to tell you what exactly happened to me early on. Back in my first startup called PartyFile, I resigned from my day job thinking that I'm going to get funded when I started winning pitching competitions, because I thought I was going to get funded very soon. But the reality is, it took me 3 years to get funded, and I was very broke during that time. And just because I wanted to go all in, I didn't take any side hustle. And the bad thing was, I was dependent on my startup for my survival while I was trying to grow it. So I ended up getting a lot of bad deals because I was desperate. So in my next startup, which is Chatbot PH, I made sure that I'm not going to make the same mistake. So I got into the art of freelancing. By making enough money on the side to make ends meet, it allowed my startup to flourish and get acquired in just 12 months after I put it up. But that wouldn't happen if I didn't get paid on time. And there's one product that I relied on heavily to get paid easily, and it's Payoneer. Payoneer saved me from a lot of hassle because it's the fastest way to get paid, especially if you're doing freelancing. And the cool thing about it is that it goes straight to your bank account, so you don't have to worry about your money getting stuck in a wallet somewhere. So whether you're a freelancer, e-commerce seller, digital marketer, or any hustler that requires B2B payment, I highly recommend that you use Payoneer to get your money. So register now and go to Payoneer.com or download the Payoneer app on the App Store or Google Play. Alright, let's get back to the show. And we're back from the break. We're still with Luis Arcangel. I got that right this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Montgomery Fitch. Now, Luis, you said year 1 was a good year, right? You got off the bat blazing and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And you were just like killing it. But you mentioned year 2 was completely different. What happened in year 2?
Well, year 2 to succinctly put it, we fucked it up, man.
Right.
We really did.
Right.
At the end of the day, you got an agency run by a college professor and five kids, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds who learning the ropes on the fly. Very talented, but they're learning the ropes on the fly.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of service gaps in the sense of, I guess, what clients are looking for in terms of professionalism, promptness of output. We started losing clients one by one. Everybody that we got during year 1, I think only one stayed.
Wow.
Yeah, only one stayed. We lost everybody. And then what happened also was that we expanded too fast. We started because just me,
right.
And then we had four guys, and then I think before you knew it, like we tripled or quadrupled the team in record time,
Right.
to service no clients. You know, it was a classic mistake because it all happened too easily.
Got it.
So we started losing clients, we started losing money, and we started losing money. We couldn't pay people anymore.
Wow.
We were behind payroll, and the funny thing was, I've talked about this in like a lot of my keynotes, and this is really where the struggle came. We couldn't pay the guys, and then the parents are so mad because they're so young. They would come and they were like, parang principal's office, they would come and they would trash you like, oh, bayaran niyo mga anak namin.
Right.
Mga ano kayo, mga scam kayo, papadole namin. It's crazy.
I know the feeling,
it was because, and then, so how do you withstand that, man? I mean, it came to a point where there's even a time when they cut off the electricity.
Oh my God, it got that bad.
We couldn't pay. We couldn't pay on time. So we told the staff na, there's like a building drill. Let's go out na lang sa Starbucks.
Right.
And then they go out and like all the rest of the buildings have electricity. I'm very candid about this kasi a lot of the people I meet nowadays, they just assume, oh, you guys are international. Oh, like it was like handed on a silver platter. Especially, but they don't know that this is literally grinded down, man, from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It even came to a point where I distinctly remember this day. We came from a pitch. The pitch was great. We were all in a great mood. This was after lunch. And then we came back, and then we got to the office, and then the damn place was padlocked. Kasi the check bounced. The check bounced because there was a client payment that we were waiting for. Apparently, they never did. It never came. We thought it was covered.
Wow.
So they padlocked the place. Crazy stuff. And then parang, it's like at that point you think your heart's so heavy, your dreams literally being snatched away from you. Right around this time, everyone started resigning na because we can't pay them na. And then one of the critical turning points. I mean, God bless his soul.
Yes.
My friend. We're okay now, but at the time, my founding partner, who was also a former student of mine from university, he said, "You know what, Luis? Like we're like in the red for mga 7 figures already at this juncture.
Yeah.
And if we keep this up, like a string of lawsuits might come already. So I think maybe you should just cut your losses and call it a day. You could come back to teaching. Go back to teaching now. You're pretty good at that. But maybe this was an ill-advised venture. Maybe you should stop it right now.
Okay.
Before things become really, really crazy. And unfortunately, I'm out. I'm out.
Wow. So you were alone.
Yeah, because he was our functional COO at the time. And operations ran through him, and we bought him out for next to nothing. Just like an honor. Right. He owned 25% of the company. Yeah, and we just bought him out for next to nothing. And it took a lot of years before that relationship was repaired. Yeah, it was a shock to everybody because people were jumping ship, and he was the first one to go. He was the first one out of the door.
He went no on you.
Yeah.
Right.
So
okay.
That was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And then it came down to a singular decision. I remember I was in the car. What do I do? What do I do? Do we just give it up and somehow work na lang and find a way to pay off the debt?
Got it.
Or do we soldier on? Because the infrastructure is there now. We have a money-making machine. Mm-hmm. It's just like and then the people are learning ngayon pa itatapon na it's getting better already, diba? So it came down to a singular decision. Like literally everything from that point now became of that. It's like literally just a decision in my head. Okay. Do we give up or do we quit? Yeah.
Pivot or persevere or whatever.
Yeah.
And what was the decision? And by this time, you weren't teaching at the same time yet,
I
right?
was.
Oh, you was. So how do you even balance that, going that that the house is burning, you go to school and you have to teach and you have to be a positive influence to these people? That's hard.
You got to flip a switch. You got to flip a switch, I mean, a lot of my personal advocacy is really opening the eyes of the next generation to something sustainable, sustainable work, sustainable entrepreneurship, something better, alam mo yun? Because it's like we are, this is just my personal opinion, we're breeding a generation of employees,
Yep. There's always been like that too, with our culture, right?
And, anyone who comes from an entrepreneurship-centric background, you believe that the Filipino could be destined for something greater. And I've seen that firsthand kasi. A lot of pure talent is being wasted in menial jobs. There's nothing wrong in taking a corporate job, but you're literally wasting away for next to nothing.
Got it.
So I had to persevere, man. I had to push on.
Got it. Now, before we go back to that, to your grind and what the decision was, just a quick side note. So, with your students, right? What were you teaching back in ua&p?
I used to teach a subject called business communication.
Business communication.
Yeah, which was actually divided into two. There's business writing and business presentation.
Got it. Now,
so yeah.
When you do teach that to the kids, and now you're also struggling, was it an external struggle? You said you flipped the switch, right?
Yeah.
But what was the main motivation for you to keep going on the teaching side? Aside, of course, from making ends meet. Of course, I'm pretty sure that's one of them. But other than that, there's got to be more to that because you did this significantly for a long time. How long do you guys do teaching?
I ended up teaching at that university for, I would say, close to 7 years.
Dude, that's a long time. That's several generations of students from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you keep pushing on knowing that the house was...
With teaching kasi per se, yeah, I mean, you earn next to nothing from it. I mean, it'll barely cover your gas or whatever.
Right.
You don't teach because you want to earn money. You really do it because there's just something in your head that you actually enjoy doing it. You have a passion for it. I know that's a cliche, but that's really the truth. And ano yun eh, parang therapy din kasi yun eh. Alam mo yun, for me, it's heavily pedagogical. You know, for example, I have stuff, diba?
Right.
I'm trying to up the ante by sharing them practical things from the real world and they wouldn't catch it. And I think the students appreciated that for the longest time. I would always be the prof na I would be extremely pragmatic about things, you know. And a lot of how I treated my classes actually brought on to our workplace philosophy once everything was firing on all cylinders back again, you know.
Got it. Now, okay, let's go back now to where we ended. You before you said the piece about you teaching, you were at that point of decision. Do you pivot or you keep going or do you stop?
Yeah.
What did you do to now get everything back up on track now?
Well, you know, I mean, I was very, very lucky to have an extremely loyal team. The same kids who stuck by me, you know, are, you know, they're now like partners with our holding company.
Yes.
They're also the CEOs of the respective companies that we had also put up. And so they're like CEOs at the age of what, 20, 27, 28, you know.
Nice.
But these were the same 19-year-olds that were, you know, fucking around with me and messing it up like nearly every time. So we started, and I you know, when you have that solid team kasi, na they would really, you know, that they would fight to the death with you. It empowers you. Eh. Diba? How did we turn it around? You know, it was just simple focus, man. I mean, if you're confident with your product kasi, if you truly, I mean, to the highest of heavens, you truly believe in your product, you know na it will be a success eh. Hindi yung if you're constantly second guessing yourself kasi that has no room in business eh. There's no room for that in entrepreneurship eh. That it doesn't work that way. And you know what? You know, after that decision, ano pa yun, siguro there were several months na mahirap eh. You ran out of money. I mean,
how did you keep? I mean, did you just say of course, you can't. I mean, you're also fortunate because the kids were young, right? How did he make them stay on board, considering that they're gonna be there? You know, there's gonna be months.
For the loyalists who truly believe, at least in me and the company and the vision. I mean, some of them, they wouldn't get paid for 2 months.
Wow.
You give them
allowance
lang for every 2.5 months, and one of them even took on a secondary job.
Just to be able to...
Kasi pinapakwit na siya nung nanay niya eh.
Right.
Alam mo yun? Kasi ano ba yung ginagawa mo? So, she actually took on a secondary job.
Wow.
Night shift.
Wow.
Work through that, sleep for 2 hours, then run to the agency and do her stuff. If that's not dedication, I don't know what is, you know.
No, but what's the foundation of that? Because you can't just have loyalty like that on a flimsy, weird. You said it was fun, right? But it's got to be more than fun, Luis, right?
Yeah.
There's something that you put in that team that made it so more like cult-like for them to stay that wild.
What was it? I always say believe first and foremost that you focus on the relationships. I didn't really focus on short-term gain.
Okay.
And I always we tried to create an environment where everyone was on a growth trajectory, if you would call it that. Alam mo yun. And I think people appreciated that.
Yeah.
You know, I think people appreciated na. Once again, another well-documented part about us was the entire team was comprised of millennials. Even until now, like right now in 2019, my first batch of people turning 30 are coming in. But that's like 10 years, man. So we actually eked out our niche as the millennial agency of the Philippines, and that's how we got a lot of our business. Oh, we need an agency with young insights. I'll get Fitch. We need we need these guys because we need to know how to talk to them.
Right.
It was a challenge because that was the time that people were always trashing millennials to the point of it doesn't even make sense anymore.
Right.
And we were like the antithesis of that because we proved that there was a sustainable model of, both from an organizational development standpoint and it's just relationships, man.
Got it.
It's
So
just
relationships and culture, if you look that up.
Yeah.
Now, what was the turning point for you to all right, you kept slugging your way. Eventually, you hit a moment. What was that pivotal moment where he's like, all right, now we're on the way back up?
Yeah. And it was really razor thin, man. Because for a while, during that time, access to capital was extremely scarce. And it was bootstrapped because from the very beginning.
Right.
We used our own money. We never asked for anyone else's money. And we were running out. I used to be a triathlete a long time ago.
Wow.
I used to have this Tour de France bike.
Wow.
That was... It was
the one with the thin wheels.
That sort of thing.
Right.
And then, I said, what the hell? I sold it. That was like a prized possession. I sold it just so I could pay
payroll.
Payroll.
Right.
It was gone in 5 minutes. And then the following month, it wasn't enough pa. Kulang pa din. So I sold my car.
Wow.
I sold my car. There was a time that me and Louie, my managing director, like we looked at our bank account. There's like 700 pesos. Sabi ko, may date daw siya, a monthly or something. Sabi ko, hati na lang tayo. Tig 300 tayo, tapos iwan natin yung 100 para di maklose yung account. Good luck sa'yo. Para, it's a crazy story when you look at that. And, Louis is now the overall head of the agency right now.
Nice.
He's also the head of our content production company. So crazy. So we just kept hammering away at it. If you believe in your product, and then eventually we closed one account, which gave us a month.
Nice.
Then we closed another account that gave us another month. And then before you know it, you're on a winning streak again, and then your year is secure.
Correct.
Then we parlayed that into bigger business na. Eventually, when it became more stable, then we started diversifying and expanding now.
Got it.
I
Now,
guess the rest is history.
knowing what you know now in terms of going back, right, and then what you know, what are the learnings that you learned on that one, and how did you apply it? Because when you hit rock bottom, what I did when my startup failed, I literally had to shut everything down.
Yeah.
It was very painful. I had to let go of 20 employees and whatnot. I wrote it down, my playbook of my fuck ups. So it became a viral blog and whatnot. I didn't post it. Someone dug it up, became viral. For you, was there certain things that you told yourself that, all right, this is what we'll never do again, and this is what we'll do now?
Yeah.
After all those years of slugging through it.
There was a lot of learnings for sure. One that really stands out for me is it was actually something said to me in Tagalog.
Okay.
I share this in other interviews, but in English it doesn't.
Say it in Tagalog, bro. Let's do this.
It sounds weird. Sabi, mawala na daw yung kumpiyansa mo sa lahat. Huwag lang mawala yung kumpiyansa mo sa sarili mo. Alam mo yun. Kasi pag mawala yung kumpiyansa mo sa sarili mo, patay ka na, wala ka na.
True.
Diba? Kasi as a founder, as a CEO, you're the driver, you're the engine. Correct. And once you lose that self-belief, sabi nga nila, other people believe in you nga, pero ikaw, you can't believe in yourself.
Correct.
What does that make of you? I also realized that, like partnerships in general, like anyone in good times, anyone can be a good partner. You get 5 guys off the street, and then when the money's flowing and then the good times are there, it's great,
Yeah.
But partnerships are really forged through fire.
Yes.
When times are tough, man. That's where
Correct.
you really identify your team. That's where you can really know who will go the whole 9 yards with you. And
when the honeymoon period is over and then the shit really hits the fan.
Exactly.
That's
where you'll know. That's where you'll know. You can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on talagang solid partnerships. And I could have never brought the company to where it is today without the benefit of my team.
All right, now let's take a break. Take a break. What the hell is a bake? We were not gonna bake here. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, let's talk about the learnings and how you can share this hustle with what you've learned now through this whole experience and whatnot, and what's next for Montgomery Fitch. But more of that after the break. Hey guys, let's take another quick break to talk about a little trick that helped us get traction in Chatbot PH very early and ultimately helped us get acquired. And it's called A/B testing. Basically, it's creating 2 versions of the same site or landing page to see what works and what converts for you. Because one of the worst things you can do as a founder is put all your eggs in one basket and hope that it converts. This is why a lot of early stage startups don't get the traction that they want because they're hoping and praying and they don't iterate quickly. A/B testing eliminates that problem. So now you can really see which part of your site converts by giving different designs to different sets of users. And I'll tell you right now which platform we used to allow us to do this. And it's called Unbounce. Here you can now create 2 sets of your startup's landing page and see which one really converts for you, so you don't have to keep guessing people actually like your site's design or not. And the cool thing about this is also it does not require you to be a developer. So you can literally put up a site very quickly. You can now also use this for your pop-ups and sticky bars. But hold on, because I'm not yet done dropping bombs out here. Because we found a way to give you Unbounce long-term after you do your 30-day free trial. Just go to bit.ly/hustlebounce to get 20% off your first 3 paid months, so you can run better experiments long term. And I'm not trying to bullshit you here, because if you go to Chatbot PH, we're still running Unbounce for our website. So go ahead and check it out to use the power of A/B testing for your startup. And we're back from the break. We're still with Luis Arcangel of Montgomery Fitch. Again, Luis, prior to the break, there was heavy stuff that you told us. I didn't know it was that bad. And I appreciate you telling us how exactly it went through. Like, no bullshit, no fluff all over it. And I love it because that's what it takes. That's the real hustle behind it. Now it's time for us to share it and pay it forward to those people who are listening to this. So in our hustle sharing segment at the moment. Now, Luis, I wanted to ask, right? You said you at the start of this whole episode, you scaled prematurely, right? Or scaled the wrong way. How do you now, knowing what you know now, how would you advise someone to scale the right way? And if they're in this type of business or a similar business where it's services, because it's easy to scale in product, right? Because you're working on one thing together.
Yeah.
As a service, you're basically hired guns, assassins for client work, and they pay for your hours and your effort.
Yeah.
How would you then do that now?
Nowadays I actually sit on the advisory board of several startups regionally.
Okay.
And a lot of them are services related in nature. During our time kasi, they would always tell you that services are not scalable. Any VC would tell you that. Diba? You can't have our money because so paano na yun, diba? But a common thing that we would always look at is that, okay, how long is your runway right now? Because that is something that I think is often ignored because it's run like a sari-sari store. Okay, we have
pub.
a client. We have a client. Now, nothing against sari-sari stores, but you know, if you bring a micro mindset to something that actually has potential, it will literally stay there forever.
Correct.
Diba? You gotta know, okay, how much, okay, this is X amount of runway, and then what is your, no, what is your, what's the projection for the year?
Right.
It's I don't want to complicate it too much, but as far as people know na the lights are on for this year, then we can play around with it na.
Got it.
Diba? What is our projected EBITDA? Diba? For instance, hindi yung okay, let's run it and ay wala na tayong kita. Wag na lang, sarado na lang natin, diba? There's no vision eh. I have talked to too many startups that they are predicating the health of the company on month-on-month sales. And you cannot even plot it out on a per quarter basis. So sabi ko, ayusin na natin. Let's make sure that you have enough. If you don't have enough, then let's look for funding for it. Let's look for somebody.
P&L. Create your P&L.
P&L na lang. I mean, use the Google Sheets. It's free.
Correct.
Diba?
And there's several, we'll put that in the show notes here. There's several templates that you can use.
Exactly.
Because if you don't know your numbers, you're also not going to get any kind of funding. Also, you don't know what you need, right? If you're not chasing after it, then you just whatever. We'll just get whatever else out there. Right.
I would always, a common sticking point is that, do we know that the lights are on for X amount of time?
Okay.
And then if we know that for a fact,
okay.
Kumaga, what's the game plan? You know, like per quarter planning. It's like what you said. You know, it's essential P&L, man. For our companies, you know, these guys don't have their own accountant, naman, so we just use the Google Sheets. You know, it's free. You know, and I think you're just trying to bring an advanced level of efficiency to business.
Absolutely.
You know, and I also tell them, kasi a lot of times naman, you know, there's something on the distaff side of this naman where they are so concerned with what happens in that funnel within that runway na it's close to becoming linear na, then you forget your vision na. Now, if you can't
be in too deep for too long, right? You have to look at it from a macroscopic level.
Same thing. If you focus too much on your micros, you'll never grow.
Correct.
Because then, bakbakan na yan eh.
Right.
Way back when I started expanding the company, I would face a lot of inertia from my board. Because, why are we putting money here? Kikita ba tayo dyan?
Right.
You know, for the longest time, I was always a top line guy. I'm not too obsessed with bottom line, especially if you're in the middle of enacting, let's say, a 3-year midterm plan.
Got it.
Kasi bottom line, wala naman yun eh. That can change in 3 months.
Right.
But what if your obsession over 3 months of, let's say, a $500,000 peso positive bottom line would compromise like an entire year's worth of expansion could have been worth like 20 times as much.
Correct.
I always encourage startup founders to open their mind to possibilities. Not just yung buy and sell, client, bayad rent. And no, it has to be something more, man.
Right.
And lalo na kung services ka, kasi dehado ka. It's hard to scale. It's hard to get
And
funding.
people don't fucking pay on time in services, too.
They never do.
Yeah.
So that has to be accounted.
So the biggest problem in Chatbot PH. What the fuck?
I have, one of my companies right now is running like a 150-day delay on an invoice.
Oh my God.
Only in the
Philippines. Regardless how early you bill, they never pay. But
Diba?
here's what I heard.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a what goes around comes around kind of thing.
Yeah.
So as much as some people just don't want to they want to pay on time, but they got fucked before, so they're gonna try to do that on someone, which is like that's the worst thing you can do because you're passing on a bad habit.
Exactly.
Like people are trying to do the business right, and just because you got fucked over by someone who didn't pay your shit, you're gonna do that to other people, dude. This has got to stop. I don't know how about other countries, but this is very rampant
in
the
another
Philippines.
country. If you're late for 30 days on an invoice, you can
sue them.
You get sued.
Exactly.
You get sued. Dito, 30 days pa.
Yeah, they'll ghost you.
They will ghost you. The signatory is on leave.
God.
And then sometimes it's the bigger companies that actually do this.
Yeah.
For me, kasi, you know, I ask the business leaders of of tomorrow and even today, if you would call it that, diba? There has to be a better way of doing business. It can't be that way. I mean, we can't be complicit to a system that encourages that. Alam mo yun? And I know it's sad. I know they'll chalk it up to that's the way business is done in the Philippines.
And it's again, it's another sign of a corrupt culture, corrupt country, because it just doesn't happen on the government side, but we also enforce it on the corporate side. Just because it's something being done, you don't pass that bullshit down to somebody else, especially it's an SME, because the SMEs are not that liquid compared to the big corporations. So again, hopefully that changes. And I don't know the answer yet, but we gotta call a spade on this one. All right, bro, I have to ask, because it's easy to acquire talent, especially when they're young. You know, Greenhorn, just like, it's fun, blah, blah, blah. It's fun here. But you kept your talent, right? Or a key portion of your talent. How do you now advise teams to keep their talent and stick around for too long? That's a whole decade of working with you, man.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very grateful for people working with me 4 or 5 years. But a decade? They literally grow up. They come from literally partying overnight to now doing Netflix and chill.
It's actually funny. At Fitch, we used to have the most famous parties in town. You know, I mean, our parties are legendary, and these are crazy. Nowadays, our parties are 9:00 tapos na. Wala na, uwi na sa tao. They all went home. Wala na, tumanda.
They're titos and titas.
Wala na, na daw. So there was an evolution,
right?
And I think for a lot of founders who are building their core around a young team is that you have to allow room to grow kasi at one point your roles would change. Lalo na for me, man. I mean, I started out as their prof, so you come from a command responsibility standpoint,
right? And
then suddenly they're getting older. They suddenly we're friends na.
Right.
You know, I told them, try to call me by my first name. You're not my student. Wala talaga eh. Hirap eh.
Sir.
So, sir pa din. And until all these years, it's a sir. We tried it for a while. Nah, it didn't work. You know?
No. And that's why in chatbot, my first thing I tell them, like, yo, there's only 3 rules in this company. First one, there's no ma'am and sir. You call me Ron. Or Ronster. Don't call me Ron. I'll kill you. There. Second is, I don't care how you do it, just get it done. Yeah. Get it done right? You're an adult. We treat you like an adult here. You fuck it up, you call yourself out, like, my bad, I'll do better. And third, if it's not documented, it does not exist.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I said I did that. Oh, where the fuck? Where's the email? Where's the Slack? Where's the documentation? That doesn't exist. So for you, how do you get over that hump, though? Because if people call you sir, then you got to be able to at least level the playing field for them. So at least, be comfortable with you.
Back, it's in nearly, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I was look at that. That's your baby. Your heart and soul is there. You're there every day. Kami pa naman, there was this we had a catchphrase several years ago. It was called "No Rules, Just Results."
Boom.
Yeah, it was called "No Rules, Just Results," and it went viral for a bit. The LinkedIn put on something about us, and then all the rest of the media outlets, because it encapsulated what you had to do to keep the talent. Syempre, we're pretty familiar with concepts of, let's say, workforce development and cultural development. There's a lot na. But at that time kasi, it was predicated on taking out the simple things that we felt did not matter. For example, log in, log out.
Right.
Log in, log out. And then I was always very, very much opposed to that, because I did not feel my time was tied to the amount of hours that my butt was in that chair. It did not make sense for me at all.
I agree.
So we created, and lalo na when we started working in high value economies like Australia, where the premium was actually more on output.
True.
So we slowly but surely became an output based organization predicated on accountability. So nangyari, you have to hire adults.
Got it.
Diba? It can't be abused kasi it'll be peer judgment. Alam mo, it will be you're being assessed before a college of your peers. It's not the boss saying, "Oh, ikaw ganyan." When it's a collegial environment, and then you're a cog in the machine, and then use a CRM or like Slack or everything's there. May paper trail.
Yes.
There's no way around it. So if you're given all this freedom, and you still can't, there's really something wrong with you na talaga.
Correct.
And then
you don't fit. You're not part. You don't have that DNA.
We're not saying you're not good. It's just not a good fit.
True.
So, and you know it makes me happy that even up to this day, like a lot of our staff and employees from 6-7 years back, they would still come back to the office, join the parties. You know?
Nice.
I mean, parang, then you look at it, you don't really notice it back then, but you look at it now, you must have done something right,
True.
you know, to maintain these relationships. And
when they leave, you make them go, and then it's a good parting. Not just like, oh shit, I hate you, I'm never gonna talk to you.
I always tell them,
Right.
you know what, tell me what you need, I'll write you the most
Endorsement letter.
compelling recommendation.
Exactly.
Ever. You know, what do you need? What do you need to do? How can we support you in this next step of your journey?
Yes.
Because I think when people see that, hindi yung parang it's just yung masabi lang, or it's
Right.
like yung you're the boss and everything. I think when people actually see you're suffering, when you're vulnerable, you're authentic, people
Right.
see your flaws. Kasi I grew up in an era where when you say the word CEO, and that's your
Good.
button down guy. Na you never even he's like Jesus Christ. You can't talk to him. He's just like he's in the fancy office. He
No.
gives a big speech before. Ako kasi, and that's also why we're trying to change the mold of the what you call the accessible CEO. I'm here. Text me or chat me or
Yep.
something, diba?
Call me, whatever.
Call me, whatever, anytime.
Right.
Kahit personal or whatever.
Right.
You know, things like that.
Okay, now I have a question in terms of metrics, right?
Yeah.
You can't be just obsessed with top line if you're not measuring something. What are those metrics that are very important to you when you do your hustle?
Nowadays, kasi I run a string of growth companies right now. So
Right.
we're really focused on expansion and top line.
Yeah.
If we talk about the agency the agency kasi once it turned around, it was cash flow positive, and that was it.
Okay.
Alam mo yun. And that was pretty much it. Agencies are a stable operation, and the way na it's run in the Philippines is that when you find your niche, you'll have good years, you'll have bad years. That's
Right.
it's not much excitement. And
No.
kumbaga, I'd like to think na among the indie agencies, we're one of the more established, we're one of the
Right.
bigger ones.
Right.
Not much excitement. Now, how do you create excitement?
Right.
You know, then you go out of the country.
Right.
Then you roll the dice and you play your chances. And that's how we grew out, you know, to the global operation that
Yeah.
we are today. We started entering geographies that no one really.
Yeah.
Because usually when you say expansion, where do you go? You go to the States. You go to Europe even, diba?
Right.
Kami, we went to places like Yangon in Myanmar.
Right.
You know, we went to Vietnam.
Blue oceans.
Blue Ocean, yeah,
Really?
you know.
But what are those metrics that you cared about? Because again, these are things that can be easily penetrated because it's a brand new ocean. But what were you looking for in terms of like, all right, is it worth it or not?
Yeah. You gotta, you know, what we would always look at is that, do you have a demand generation pipeline?
Got it.
In short, is there actual business to be made here?
Got it.
I don't care if that business will happen in a year or a year and a half, but meron ba?
Got
Diba? Kasi kami, we've had bets that took like 18 months to pay off, and it paid off very, very handsomely.
Nice.
We're not obsessed over month on month. Kasi,
Right.
ano yan eh. That's amateur for me.
Right.
It's amateur.
You have to be playing the long game
You really have to be playing.
and survive the long game too.
Oh yes.
Right.
And once you reach a certain point,
Right.
like for example, for us, we're at that point where we're at the juncture where we're constantly increasing
Right.
our market cap, for
Okay.
instance, diba? So for me, I find ways to do that.
Okay. Now, last few questions. What's your tip or advice for people who are currently in the valley of death, bouncing back, like trying to slog it? Probably they're alone or they're contemplating a lot of bad stuff, and you know this is not easy. You know, and people come clean. I appreciate that you came clean here in this program. But what would be your advice for people who are currently there at the moment, and how do they bounce back?
I've always maintained that, for example, when you do something, you know, it's your
Right.
business. There is no substitute for just pure passion for it.
Okay.
And you have to know in your heart of hearts that
Right.
you truly believe that this is going to work.
Okay.
Because as long as that exists, you always have a shot. Diba? You always have a shot. I'm not a struggle porn guy. You know, I'm not a particular fan
I like
of that.
struggle porn.
Diba? Not a struggle porn guy. Kasi, you know, we gotta be progressive in our thinking. Alam mo yun. Kasi, like for me, everything that happened, like I keep on telling myself, literally everything that happened from that fateful night in 2013 up to now was just based off a singular decision. I could have quit, like right there, like ganun lang.
Right.
But we went through with it. So, just kumaga, look at everything on your plate. Obviously, use common sense. You use your numbers, use your feasibility. But at the end of the day, you know, it's there is no exact science for it. It's always gut lang. It's always gut lang.
Really?
So
just keep pushing. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard, but you gotta keep moving.
Uh-huh.
Right. And nothing's gonna change if you just stay stagnant. All right. Last two questions. Given that you're a professor, right? If if a student would like to approach you, hi sir, I'd like to put up a business. What would be your advice now for them, given that you've been through a lot, you've seen the ups, the downs, and everything else in between? What would be your advice for them putting up their own?
Usually, what I do is that I average actually several consults a week from random students, either mine or their friends or some people from within the network. I always try to look at the opportunity from a very realistic and pragmatic standpoint. I will tell them if I have either seen something like this or I've seen something like this and then this is what happened to them. And then how can they improve on that? And if I've never seen something like it, and then I'll help them thresh out at least step 1 to 10. Because a lot of them, they come to me. They try to apply what they learn from school or yung mga tinuro ng mga parents nila, which is very, very traditional business. Gawin mo muna yung BIR. I was talking to a guy and he essentially blew his seed money on the BIR, on the DTI, the permit at City Hall. Pag ganon,
they're happy. The BIR is happy.
You'll keep your parents happy, but at the end of the day, you don't have any business pa.
How are you going to start everything?
Then what's wala kang pambayad ng rent. Diba? So these are pitfalls in front of us, and the least I can do is just guide them away from that.
From the potholes
diba?
That we've been through.
For example, there's a guy who we put up a corporation agad. Wala pang ang sales. We put up a corporation agad, and that puts you on the microscope, and then that sets you on the path for being a VAT company. Nearly instantaneously because you're an SEC listed corporation, things like that. It's technical mumbo jumbo, but if you can help from the bureaucratic side at least 50%, then that that would ease their journey a little bit man lang.
All right. Now, last question. Let's ride the Hustle Share time machine one last time. What would be your advice to a young Luis from that point? Knowing that you say, let's talk to the Luis that's in the dumps. You're at that point where you're trying to figure out am I gonna do it or not? What would be your advice now? Like Captain America going to meeting himself in Endgame. What would be that conversation like?
Well, I wouldn't change anything, man. I would give the same advice that was given to me, which was just don't lose your sense of self-belief. Because especially when you have a young team who looks up to you, and you gotta be their rock, man, and just that's where champions are made of. That's where they're proven. And if you really feel that, diba, sabi nga nila, diba, 9 out of 10 startups fail, diba?
Yep.
So what will you do to deserve being that? Because if it was easy, then everybody would do it, diba?
Absolutely.
So you have to dig deep, man. It's not easy.
All right.
It never was and never will.
But it will be worth it.
It'll definitely be worth it.
All right. Now, that's beautiful. Thank you very much again, Luis, for being on the show. Now, how can people reach out to you, and what should they look forward to in Montgomery Fitch very, very soon?
Well, if you want to reach me, I'm on Facebook. I guess like everybody. I have a public page.
There you go. Luis Arcangel.
Just search it. I'm on Instagram also. My handle is Hello Mr. A. I literally answer everything.
There you go.
Except if you.
It's not a chat bot, by the way. That's a real person answering you.
It's the real person. And
cool.
What's up for Montgomery Fitch? This year, we had just opened in India. Actually.
Wow.
We brought several of our companies there.
Oh my God.
And this year we're looking at, because we expand on average about 3 to 4 countries a year.
Wow.
So this year we're looking.
How do you just before we end? How do you even go to expand that? Given you're a Philippine company, do you look for a local company there, or do you bring the Philippine entity in there?
We literally bring the Philippine entity.
Wow.
I mean, over the years, majority of what I do right now is regional oversight.
You're a conquistador now.
You know, I go around
cool.
making relevant connections, seeing where there's a good fit. A well-publicized note last week is we were selected to be part of the first Philippine trade mission to Kazakhstan.
Wow!
Which
oh my
is
God! With Borat, you're gonna meet Borat.
Exactly. You know, it's like an absurdity.
There you go.
But we'd actually been in talks with Kazakhstan based companies for a while.
Got it.
And since we're one of the few Philippine companies that actually dabble in Central Asia, I guess we were a logical fit. So that's obviously something to be excited about. Places like Kazakhstan or like Tbilisi, Georgia.
Wow.
Yerevan in Armenia. We were trying to push the envelope.
Eastern Europe and whatever, right?
Yeah, you know, like where else can we go? What can we do? Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
You know, ganun din yan eh. Foreign partnerships are built over time.
Right.
There are cultural things that have to be bridged.
Okay.
But it's actually pretty exciting, man. And I do appreciate the support and having me on the program.
Definitely.
Thank you for having me.
So again, thank you very much, bro. Appreciate it. So guys, if you guys like that episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube or whatever podcast app they're using. Please don't forget to follow us back so that we can, whatever new episode we got, you get first dibs right away once it goes out. And again, if you guys also want to share new hustlers the same way, Dexter Banyo also submitted Luis to be nominated in the show. Please don't forget to join our Facebook group at Hustle Share Community and message us on our chatbot at m.me/hustleshare, powered by Chatbot PH. Again, thanks Luis, appreciate it.
Brother, thank you.
And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.